What's up, everybody? How's it going? We're joined by the legendary mustache-wearing man, Half Mile Sniper, on this wonderful
Enjoying
evening,
beer.
and
Nice
he's got a
beer.
buffalo and a
Yeah.
beer.
Oh, a beer.
There we go. So, all right, well, let's have you introduce yourself for my viewers that don't know who you are, and then we'll get on into it.
Okay, let me try this. I'm getting a little bit of feedback here now all of a sudden.
Uh-oh.
Let me just turn my sound down and we'll see what happens here. So, hey, I'm Half Mile Sniper. I'm a retired Border Patrol agent, did 32 years on the line. Long before that, I was worked offshore, and I just like to shoot.
There you go. So what really got you into firearms? Was it your law enforcement background, or was it more along the lines of how you were raised?
Well, I got my first gun when I was 6 years old. And I have a video on my channel about that gun because I still have it. It's a
That's
little
awesome.
22 410 over under Savage. And that started my relationship with firearms. And growing up in the house that we had, guns were never locked up. Guns were never out of reach. There was only one rule. All you had to do was ask.
Gotcha. That's kind of
And,
how it was, how I was raised.
you know, if you ask, you get permission. There's nothing secret about them, nothing mystical about them. And you take that mystique away and you take the desire to play with them away. But you don't take away that desire to improve with them.
No, I understand that. So you just competed in the Pistol Nationals, right?
The National Police Shooting Championships in Pearl, Mississippi.
How'd you place? What's your national ranking now, and what division?
Overall, on the aggregate, so that's what the championship's based off of, and that aggregate's it's a 15, what we call a 1500 match. It's practical police combat, 10 rounds, 10 points per round, and it's a 150 round match. It's actually 5 separate matches that are fired from the 7-yard line through the 50-yard line. And then match 6 is the aggregate of those 5 matches. And then the championship is the aggregate of the revolver event and the auto event combined.
Gotcha.
That's for those who don't compete. I'm sure it's very convoluted. Those who do compete understand what I'm saying right there. On that aggregate this year, I was like number 12 in the country.
Oh yeah.
And I was the high aggregate over 61 retired officer. I was on fire this year between my score and probably the top. We'll go to the top 5, probably less than 10 point spread.
Oh yeah, that is awesome. Congratulations, dude.
And then,
now,
go ahead.
I was gonna ask, do you prefer shooting semi-auto or do you prefer the revolver on it?
I prefer the revolver. The revolver is how can I say the revolver is more forgiving because you got that nice long trigger pull. You have time to make minuscule sight adjustments. You can control the whole firing sequence with that long trigger pull. Even though my double action trigger pull is only like 6 or 7 pounds tops, it's still long and controllable. Whereas with the auto, because I shoot a 1911, I'm only moving like this far. So
Nice.
I struggle with the auto.
Is it more along the lines of how you were taught shooting? Is that why you struggle, or is it more you're just more comfortable to the revolver?
I think it goes back to when I got old enough to start shooting handguns. I was only shooting revolvers. When I went to the academy, we were trained on revolvers. Autos were kind of a new thing. Hey, Dale. So autos were kind of a new thing. So my whole handgun experience up till probably 1988, when I went to teach at the academy and when I jumped to an automatic, up to that time, everything had been double action revolver.
Nice.
Evening, Charles.
I didn't really know how you got started with that. Now I struggle with the revolver. So I'm prior law enforcement also, and
Cool.
and we were taught how to shoot with a revolver, and that's what we carried on emergency type situations. But I've always been awful with a revolver. Like, even growing up, my stepdad, that's all he had were wheel guns. And then, like, his dad, he had wheel guns and things like that. But I've always struggled with it. And now, even with my 44 Magnum, I can shoot it out to 400 yards easily, free-handed. But I struggle with the trigger on it because I'm so spoiled by 9-ounce triggers that going from a 9-ounce trigger to a 6-pound trigger, it's awful for me.
Well, have you ever had the opportunity to shoot a Beretta 92 or a 96? Any of them in double action mode? Any of the double action only Berettas?
I've got a really good friend. That's what he daily packs every day, and it's got like a 15-pound trigger. And
Okay.
I was like,
now, when we went to an issued semi-auto, it was a Beretta 96 40 cal.
mm-hmm.
I shot more perfect scores on my qualification with that Beretta 96 than I did with the revolver I love so much. Because the double action Berettas have a trigger that's very much like a revolver. It's heavy and it's long.
Yeah, and I think that's my
trigger quick.
Yeah,
and then slow it down, but don't stop it and let it break. Start it quick, slow it down, let it break, and it'll work. And of course, the other thing with revolver, right here, this part of your hand, that's got that knuckle on the back of the revolver. You want to have meat literally rolling up over the top of that, where you're almost getting pinched between the top of the frame and the underside of the hammer.
gotcha. Well, see, I got like team baby hands, so I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. The full-size Glock 19 is too big for my hands. Like, I've got team baby hands over here. I'm like Deadpool with my little hands. So I struggle with the big palm swell, but like I can shoot a full-size Canic pretty well, and it's strictly because the handle is, or not really handle, but the pistol grip is actually pretty slim on it, even though it's a 20-round double stack mag. It's rough.
There's a Walther, the PDP. The PDP has a fairly slim grip on it, and now they've made a slimmer grip. It's actually marketed for females, but I know several guys that have them because their finger reach is a little hard to get to the trigger on a standard size. and it actually feels really comfortable. And a lot of people don't understand this with the plastic guns. Your finger position on that trigger is really, really important, because not enough finger and you're pushing all your shots to your weak side. Too much finger and you're pulling them to your strong side. And it's really prevalent with the plastic guns.
Oh, I agree 110% on that. So like, I don't know, I struggle with, I got little hands, man. I got little arms, I got little hands. Yuka's saying that apparently we're like 7 inches tall. Um, so
because it's funny, I never really thought of myself as having large hands until I was watching myself shoot an end frame, and my paws were swallowing the end frame grip. And I'm looking at that going, no, I was shooting an end frame. That's not a K frame. Hey, Randall.
no, I get it. And the Walther you're talking about, it's the PDQ, isn't it?
No, it's the PPQ was what they had, and they're great guns. And the new stuff is the PDP.
Okay. I thought the new one was the PDQ.
No, PPQ is the old one.
Okay.
And we had the Walter rep come out a couple of years ago, and he was at the match. And after the match was over, I just ran a magazine from the 50-yard line and held a group about like that at the 50-yard line. It was not too bad.
So like my daughter, she can shoot a full-size pistol a lot better than I can. Her hands are actually larger than mine. I don't know who she gets big hands from, because it sure as hell isn't me. But so she can shoot a full-size handgun pretty well, but she still can't beat. You still gotta humble them. Like, no matter how good they get, you still gotta humble them. You know what I mean? You still gotta beat them.
I know exactly what you mean. And at the Raton match in July, the Rocky Mountain Nationals, one of the Border Patrol team puts on a BB gun match for the kids. And even 20 years ago, when I was first going to Raton, I mean, Border Patrol's always done this. They put on this BB gun match. And then the Rocky Mountain match for kids that were, because the BB gun match was like 3 to 12. And then for kids older than 12, the match sponsors put on what they called Annie Oakley Kit Carson match. So the kids and the wives or husbands who aren't law enforcement had an opportunity to compete as well. And so the Border Patrol put on the BB gun match, and Uncle Sugar bought 10 or 12 Benjamin 22 cal air rifles, and they're all dialed in, and the kids shoot standing, kneeling, and prone. So they shoot 3 positions, shoot it from 2 different yard lines. Every kid walks away with something. My oldest daughter, her first year that she shot, she was 6 years old. Won a stinking TV. A TV.
That's awesome.
Both my daughters have shot in the matches, and then they grew up and shot in the Kit Carson matches and won money. They were. It's a great event. And funny story, because here we go. You asked me what time and tell you how to make a watch. We started talking about your daughter, which threw me into this side wormhole here. But my youngest daughter went to the range with me, and I broke out my 1943 Llama 38 Super. just for giggles. And she's like, "Oh, I want to try shooting that one, Dad." I said, "Okay, here you go. Here's a couple 3 rounds. Hold it tight. Hang on to it like you're hanging off of it." And she was going for the steel plate, which is at almost 100 yards. And there were a couple of yahoos on the far end of the range just blasting and dirt flying everywhere, and they ain't hitting the plate. She gets out there with that 38 Super, and she goes, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, bing. She turns to me and she goes, "I want to shoot this one for the Annie Oakley match." Unfortunately, it was golfers only.
That's great. So Ron Wayne here is a big BB gun guy. Ron, who did the etching on your BB gun? But he gets old, I think he said daisies. I believe that's what it is old daisy BB guns. And he fixes them and restores them. Ron's a big BB gun guy. He sent me pictures of some of the stuff he's done. It's pretty awesome. Not even gonna lie.
And this BB gun match is it's set a lot of kids on their way to being good shots. In fact, one of the competitors out of Colorado, I don't know if he was a municipal copper or a state bull, but his daughter was always one of the BB gun winners, and then was always one of the Kit Carson winners. And she, last I heard, she was still shooting for the Army, I believe.
Nice.
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
competitively with the Army. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I love seeing women and children in the competitive sports of shooting. I really do, because the children are the future of it, and if you can get the mom involved in it, then they're more likely to drag their kids with it, especially if mom and dad are both doing it. And it just creates that more family atmosphere. Like, my daughter, I have drug to matches since she was in a stroller, and my son, I've done the same thing. I literally have a stroller set up for my 3-gun stuff that literally my son will sit in it. Well, my daughter initially sat in it. It's got rifle racks on the side. That way I can store my 3-gun shotgun on there, my 3-gun rifle on there, and obviously I always carry my pistol. It's got a chute underneath for all my ammo to go in. And I've always had earmuffs for the kids to go to the matches with us. And I think Zayden was at his first match when he was a month old. And then Olivia was at her first match about the time she was a month old. So they've been around it their entire life.
That's just like my daughters. And there's a retired LASO female. She's been shooting this game for 50 years. She's in the record books as well, but she still chuckles about my oldest daughter was probably 5-ish. My younger daughter was probably 2. They've been around ranges their whole life, but somebody went to the Suburban. Suburban was parked up underneath the shade because we were at the LASO range, which was fairly close to the beach. It's not like it was out in the desert hot. Both girls had stripped down to nothing. Were watching TV in the back of the Suburban, butt ass naked.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's hey, it is what it is. But yeah, they grew up around ranges, grew up hanging out with all the coppers and shooting guns and competing on their own. And I think my whole family has a bit of a competitive side because wifey shoots as well too. She shoots awesome for the Riverside Sheriff's team.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I've created a monster with Olivia. I have created an absolute monster. So we were at Red Bluff, Indiana. I want to say a month ago, 2 months ago, for the big 3-gun match that they have out there. And so she's still shooting. she'll finish out the season in juniors, and then she'll go up to women's because she just turned 17, so she'll go up to women's division now. And there was 2 kids that were like, "Oh, well, we can't be beat by a girl. We can't let a girl beat us," and just talking all sorts of shit to her. And Olivia was like, "Okay, whatever." And so I want to say she got like 4 seconds behind them, and the kids kept just talking shit to her, and was like, "See, I told you couldn't beat us, that we wouldn't be beat by a girl." So she come back and cleared 8 stages back to back to back with like 13 seconds to spare on each stage, which was enough to bump her up above them. And it was great watching her do it. Just, I don't know, it's great watching her do it.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I can totally feel that, because when with the Kit Carson Annie Oakley matches, and you could see with both daughters, you could see it in their face that had people who that was their target. I want to beat that person. Mm-hmm. And they were really, really focused, and just as bad as me. I've been known to yell at myself mid-match, and at the regional I put on, match 1 is 7-yard line. Hey, Indigo. Starts at 7-yard line. It's 12 rounds and 20 seconds, starting from the holster and with a reload. And I'm shooting a revolver. And I clean that, and I have literally a group probably like this. Of course, everyone's a hero at the 7-yard line.
Yeah.
Go back to the 15, and again, it's 12 rounds and 20 seconds from the holster with a reload. Target's turn. I come up, get on my sight. I'm not in any hurry. I just boom, boom, get a good cadence going. I hit number 6. I unload. I reload. And I'm not looking at the gun. I'm not looking at the target. I'm just like, because I don't want to let anything get in my head, right? Speed loader snaps. I let it drop. I go to close the cylinder, and it won't close. So I take another run, go to close the cylinder, it won't close. Try a 3rd time. Won't close. So now I actually look at the gun, and I have 1 round sitting like that proud. There, people can see now. Like that proud. I push it in. I go, man, I have been pissing away all my time. Get it closed. Find the full auto switch on the revolver. I go, targets are gone after the last shot.
Bye, Randall.
Later, Randall. We'll talk to you tomorrow, sir. So I hit the full auto switch on the revolver. I zip off 6 rounds. Gun comes down, I recoil, target's gone. Like, wow. Line officer's behind me. He goes, they're all there. They're all there. I unload, holster up. I'm policing my brass. Target's turned back. And I should have brought the target in. It's still in the truck. I have 1 round that's out of the X-ring. There we go. That much. I'm that far from a national record. And now I'm pissed. And I start yelling at myself. You son of a bitch, you just cost yourself a national record. Blah, 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 blah. My line officer, his wife was watching from the spectators area. She thought I was yelling at him because he'd been waving the flag at the end of the stage. She's ready to come off the benches and come up there and get physical with me. And I'm like, somebody's like, no, he's just mad at himself. I have a new shooter next to me, and my line officer's like, wow, I can't wait till we're good enough to call that a bad target. It's one of those location jokes. You had to be there, I guess.
No, I get it. I really do. So, DK, you didn't offend me. I'm just super petty when it comes to comments sometimes. So you didn't offend me. if I offended you by being petty, don't take it that way. Um, so you didn't offend me at all.
And I just remembered I was going, hey, Alaska Andy, I haven't seen you for a while, sir. I was going to tell you a story about the Nationals.
Oh yeah, you
and
got
why I
flagged.
probably shot so well.
You got flagged too, didn't you?
Say that again?
You got flagged, didn't you, by somebody running a stage or flanked?
That happens, but that's not what made me focus.
Oh, okay.
So if James and Greg happen to be watching, because when I rolled into Mississippi and I stepped out on the range, people were like, I've seen you on YouTube. No offense, guys. No offense. So anyways, I had two new guys. When I say new, probably new to the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Probably fairly new to the sport. And they got squatted on either side of me. Had one to the left, one to the right. So the guy to the right of my right is a competitor who shoots for ice, and we walked up to the 7-yard line, and I'm joking with him, and I tell the new guy next to me, feel free to shoot on target 83. Billy needs the help. I felt really bad later on that day because the new guy crossfired on Billy.
Oh no.
Billy couldn't handle it. He went to the match sponsor. He got himself re-squatted someplace else, so no more Billy. Well, again, the guys were new. They didn't have the built guns like the rest of us have, because my revolver, if anybody's looked at my YouTube channel, I have a couple of videos about my revolver. In fact, because of Eric Cortina, who's joined in on one of my videos, I knew how bad my revolver barrel was. But my revolvers have a barrel like this big around. They're like 1.5 inches around. These guys were shooting stock revolvers. 50-yard line, you got 2 minutes and 45 seconds to shoot 24 rounds from 4 positions. It's no rush. It's a lot of time. It's literally like 45 seconds of position. Targets turn. We drop to the sitting. I haven't even got my butt sucked down on the cement yet. And these guys are like 3 shots in. And I'm getting on my sights, and I'm getting a couple of breaths in, and I'm bringing my front sight into focus. And you see wood come flying in from the left. And then you see wood come flying in from the right because they're slinging rounds and hitting the target frames. And you're like, oh, please don't shoot my target. Please don't shoot my target. And we get through the whole week, and we're in the last day of shooting, and I'm shooting the Distinguished Auto. And I'm one of the weird people. I spent the extra money, and I bought a built from Springfield 5-inch 1911 for the Distinguished match. 2,500 bones for a custom built gun. And then like the next year they changed the rule and said you can do 6 inches. Well, I still shoot my 5-inch gun.
David, are you near Fort Campbell, Kentucky? Because if you are mighty close to where I am.
Was he shooting the 1911? Did he have hammer follow? Because that happens on the load quite often sometimes with built guns.
Wait, David, you're in Clarksville? I'll be down in Clarksville on Friday. It's a small world.
I was just getting ready to say, small world.
It's a very small. So my range is not very far from you, David, that I practice on. Do you go to Tennessee Gun Country, David? I'm sorry, I'm kind of caught up on this for a second. I'm like a squirrel right now. Is that where I know you from, David?
I'm gonna text my daughter and ask her to bring me a beer.
There you go. Do I know you from Tennessee Gun Country, David? There's a lag in between StreamYard and YouTube sometimes.
Well, I figured out what my echo was. It was actually the YouTube page was running, and it's like a 5-second delay. So I just muted the YouTube page.
So David and I have met at Tennessee Gun Country before. That's interesting. I don't remember very many people's names. I'm horrible with it. With names. I remember faces.
I remember numbers. People hated me because, well, every station I've ever been at, they call me Rain Man because I knew everybody's social security number. You give me a name, I could give them a social security number. You give me a social security number, I could give you a name that went with it. But that's me. I could recall 17-digit VINs like 6 months later, recite them verbatim, no problem. I'm weird that way. Thank you. So back to the match. So I'm weird in that I shoot a 5-inch gun for distinguished while everybody else is shooting a 6-inch gun. So we come off the front half to the 25-yard line, and I'm clean. Got me a group like that. I'm happy. We go back, we shoot the 50. And we finish up the match. I go to recover my target. Get my 50-yard line target off the rack, and I grab my 25-yard line target out of the target rack down at the base of the target. And I no longer have a clean target. I have a Skitter 8 coming in from the top. Where the hell did that come from? They're like, no offense, Greg, but we got to go find a zebra right now. Yeah, he slung around through my clean target laying in the target rack.
That's awesome. You gotta love it when people do that.
This zebra was real cool about that. He goes, as long as there's 30 identifiable hits here in the middle, we can identify that one. It'd be like shooting, somebody shooting a 9 and having a crossfire from a 45. We can identify that it's not a round that was shot during the match.
So, Mark, I would do that. However, I don't have a laptop. I literally edit every single one of my videos on my cell phone. I make all my shorts off my cell phone. I have a GoPro Hero 8, and I literally run StreamYard off my cell phone. So I can't do both. But David, is that where I know you from? Is range 17? From the 22 matches? Or do I know you from the IPSC matches down there? I'm curious about this now. Okay, that is where I know David. So David shoots or ROs NRL 22 down at range 17, which is on Fort Campbell if you've ever been to Fort Campbell.
Haven't been to Fort Campbell.
So range 17 is a nice range. For the area, besides the fact that you have to register your firearms with the Army base, which is what it is, I guess if you want to go there and you want to shoot on their range, you got to do what they tell you to do. But other than that, it's a nice range, and they're getting ready to extend it out to how far, David? Now we're going to what, 1,200? I think they're going out to 1,200 is what they're extending it out to.
Wow.
Now the range I practice on, we have a mile. We're getting ready to open up for that. We're over by Well, David, we're over by Pilot Rock. So I'm over in that area. But we were talking about this. Sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked. I was trying to. It came to me. I'm like a squirrel sometimes, man. You gotta bear with me. I've been out in the sun all day too.
Shiny butterflies.
It is, especially when you've been out on the lake fishing all day. So David runs range 15. Okay, I know who you are now. That makes sense. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Crap. I just figured out I can actually read the comments and keep the StreamYard open on a closed tab. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm so technological here.
So allegedly Ron Wayne says he doesn't have the distance to shoot like that. But Ron Wayne fails to mention that he's only like 2 hours away from me. So, and I've told him before he's always welcome at the range. So
I got to drive 2 days to get the 1,100 yards. So,
well, you go to Raton pretty often, don't you?
I go at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. I love going to Raton.
How far is Raton from you? Because I'll be out in Raton for season finale the week before Thanksgiving.
It is almost exactly 1,100 miles door to door.
Is it? I'll be out in Raton the week before Thanksgiving for season finale, presuming I get all my points finally qualified.
So literally from my house here in California to my place in Arizona, it's exactly 500 miles. And then it's just shy of 600 miles from my place in Arizona to the Whittington Center.
Well, presuming I qualify, and I'm assuming Boom Country is going to qualify too. And when I was talking about Boom Country with your name being misspelled, I was talking about your legal name. You're missing a letter in it that my legal name has that your legal name doesn't have. That's what I was talking about, Boom Country. But yeah, Boom Country's got almost a mile and a quarter, mile and a half shot where he's at. He's up in North Dakota, I think. I think he's in North Dakota. But yeah, I love going out to Wellington Center out there. It's such a nice range. It's very well kept.
And plus they've got a range for every discipline,
a
dedicated range for every discipline. And that's what a lot of people don't understand that, and they don't know that the whole Whittington Center was a working ranch that was donated to be this range.
People don't realize how big that range is, too. I mean, there's over
like
a 2 mile
30,000 acres.
There's over a 2 mile shot at that range.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it goes out to what, 2 1/4, 2 1/3?
Might be 2.5. Now, actually, it might be 3 miles because one of the records was broke in excess of 2, maybe 3 miles. I can't remember which now. And it was shot there at Whittington. And the guy who shot it, his name's Billy Carter of Carter's Country in Houston, Texas. We went to high school together. We graduated the same year. And when I was a kid, we would go to Carter Country in spring, and that's where we'd go shoot. So, yeah, this whole great big world, as you said earlier, it's actually pretty damn small.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's almost 3 miles that they have there that they can shoot.
It's a nice complex. I like the cabins that they have there and everything. like
Now,
that.
which cabins? The founders' cabins, the legacy cabins, or the primitive cabins?
I've stayed in the cheap cabins, and they were
Ah,
still nice.
okay. Well, the cheap cabins aren't cheap anymore. Last time I stayed in the cheap cabins, I had the cabin to myself, and it was supposed to be 20 a night. But because I had the whole cabin to myself, I had to pay for every bed.
Yeah.
I prefer the founders' cabins, even though they don't have air conditioning, they don't have internet, and they don't have TV. They are very comfortable. And you got a full kitchen, full stove, ice box, the whole 9 yards. You don't have to go into town, but to buy groceries, you don't have to go out to eat. It's all right there. And then they took a couple of the founders' cabins, made them legacy cabins, and that's the Harlan Carter, who was a president of the NRA, former Border Patrol, chief of the Border Patrol, and the Brownell cabin, I believe it is, that they've air conditioned, remodeled them, and they've even got TV in them. But they're like $150 a night. Mm-hmm. But hey, you know what? That's what it is that's what it costs to stay at a hotel in town. And you got to drive 10 miles back to town and 10 miles out to the range every morning. I'd rather just stay on the range.
It's just like when I travel for 3-gun matches, like we literally used to rent a hotel. And now that Olivia is old enough, like I don't know how to put it, but like I can trust her by herself in a tent. Does that make sense? So, and let's face reality, we're at a rifle range. Somebody's really going to be that stupid. You know what I mean? So now we just throw tents out, or we'll take the camper or something like that, and we'll all stay there and we'll spend whatever the $10 to camp on site, whether it's primitive or in a camper. And dude, the money we save, well, really, you don't save any money because what you would save on the hotel, you spend on gas.
Exactly.
But the peace of mind of not having to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, you can wake up at 6 when the range starts at 7.
But that's like this year. I couldn't get one of the cabins. I mean, I was even willing to pay for one of the founders' cabins, not founders' cabins, legacy cabins, and everything was booked up. So, hell, I rented a travel trailer in Albuquerque. I only had to pull it 225 miles from Albuquerque up to Raton.
Yeah.
500 yards from the range was where I was living. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Now, have you ever been down to K&M?
To where?
K&M down here in Fenger, Tennessee.
Oh, sure.
It's right outside Memphis. If you ever get a chance to come down to that range, like the Wellington Center is nice. Like for what Wellington Center is, it's a nice range. Like I don't have any grief or grievances against it. But K&M, it's like apples to oranges. It's so nice down at K&M. Like they've got like barndominium style things on everything out there, and
hey Rob.
And they've got like rifle racks behind you and everything where like you don't have to lay a rifle in the ground or anything like that. It's all like all their barricades are permanently affixed to the facility. It's very nice.
Now, do they by chance have a 100-point pistol range on that range?
I believe so. I know they run carbine matches out there.
When the reason I ask is after Katrina, the Jackson PD range had been pretty jacked up, and that's where we shot the nationals. When I started shooting the nationals, we shot the regional in Pearl, and we shot the nationals at the Jackson PD range, and that was a challenge because the Pearl range faces pretty much north, and the Jackson range faced almost due south. So you get all dialed in at Pearl, and then your dope would be like 180 degrees out, depending on the sun. And you might be an 8-click difference between the morning match and the afternoon match. But then after Katrina, they moved the nationals out to Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
Albuquerque, the city range out there, the shooting park, a nice facility, considering it's in a really, really blue city. But they put in a beautiful 100-point range. It was really nice. But when Albuquerque got a new mayor, and they were like, yeah, we don't like the police. We don't like you here. We don't want you here. We don't care about breaking the contract. Get out of here. One of the places they were contemplating moving the nationals was to nationals. Contemplating moving the nationals was to Memphis.
It's probably Fenger, Tennessee.
Subject near and dear to my heart, so I get wound up a little bit sometimes. Me and the NRA have had a few fights.
Well, if they're moving it to Memphis, Fenger, Tennessee is like 15 minutes from Memphis, and you could cause I'm in Kentucky. I'm near Tennessee. I'm like on the Kentucky-Tennessee border. But Fenger, Tennessee, David might know better, but I think it's like 20 minutes outside of Memphis, give or take a little bit.
That kind of sounds like what they were looking at. And I thought Memphis would have been great because you can't get much more centrally located in the U.S. than Memphis.
Well, go ahead.
When the Nationals moved from Jackson to Albuquerque, we lost a whole bunch of the East Coast competitors because the guys from New York and Vermont didn't want to drive that extra 1,000 miles to go shoot the match. It was great for people on the West Coast because now the Nationals was only 1,000 miles away. Now we're back in Pearl at the Mississippi Highway Patrol Range, and the governor at the time in 2019 pumped a buttload of money, and they built this beautiful range in like 4 months. We got to shoot on it in 2019, and then COVID hit, and we can't shoot because you have COVID, blah blah. Then you're 8 feet between competitors. I mean, you're outside in the sun and the biggest UV light source available. Why worry about it? But
I'm right there with you. We dealt with that with 3-gun right during the middle of the COOF when all that shit hit. Like right in the middle of it, they've decided we were mid-season when it hit, because our season starts in December. And so you go December to October. So our season finale for 3-gun is in 2 weeks for my division of 3-gun. Anyways, we're done in 2 weeks for season finale, and then we're done till December. Like the first week of December, we have one match in December, and then come the first weekend in January, there's a match every weekend after that for whatever, 43 weeks, 53 weeks, 51 weeks, something like that. Anyways, there's a lot of matches in between there. And then, but when the COOF hit, everything stopped. Like, we were on our way to Louisiana for the Louisiana Shootout. I don't even know if it's called that now anymore. But we were going down there for that, and we had just got into the north part of Louisiana, and the match director literally sent mass text to everybody, "Hey, we're canceling the match." It's like, what the hell? So, like, I already had the kids with me, and then I had my son's mother with me, and so we were already planning on being down there for a week for the Louisiana match. And so we just went to New Orleans for a week, drove over to Gulfport, Mississippi, and hung out with my best friend over there because Gulfport's only 30, 45 minutes from New Orleans. So just haul the toy hauler over there, put it in a campground, and we could go over to New Orleans because as much as I'm sure you're kind of the same way, if there's like if you know there's one certain spot like New Orleans, in order to park there it's like $50 a night. But if you're a Herrera's Casino member, you can park for free. So it makes logical sense to become a gold member with Herrera's where it's $25 a year and you don't have to worry about anything. And then you get free parking in the city. That's what we did. And so we would drive to New Orleans till about, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock, go back across Lake Pontchartrain and go over to Gulfport and hang out there. So
very, very familiar with that neck of woods too.
yeah, so I mean it was frustrating because we were supposed to be 34 miles south of New Orleans, and I already had a campground reservations made and everything, and it's like, what in the world? You know what I mean?
So 34 miles south of New Orleans, so about halfway to Buras.
Yeah. Which we were gonna go redfish fishing while we were down there. That was kind of part of the reason why we took an entire week. But then my best friend, he lives in Gulfport, Mississippi, and one of his buddies owns a fishing charter there, so we just went shark fishing instead.
Cool. In 2020, when they canceled all our matches, the hardcore crew of the folks that go to Raton said, we're going to Raton anyways. And we went to Raton and stayed at the Whittington Center for the whole week, just like we were there for the match. We shot a little bit of practice, but we basically just chilled out for a week. And it was, I can't explain how nice it was to just be there and enjoying everything, not feeling rushed. Oh, I don't have to be at the range before 8 o'clock because I'm on the 8 o'clock relay. It's wake up. I'm gonna go over here to this range today. I'm gonna shoot whatever. It was really nice. It was a nice break. No, we aren't, are we? Thank you, Arnold.
Why aren't y'all allowed 50 BMGs?
Because Arnold Schwarzenegger signed the law because the California legislature said, oh, 50 BMG, somebody could shoot down an airliner with one.
Is it all 50 cals or is it just 50
no,
BMG?
50 BMG. 50 BMG is verboten here. And that's what made Ronnie Barrett pack up his company in California and move it to Tennessee.
Yeah, because he's right near Nashville. So
and
can you have like the 416?
He used to be close to LA.
Can you have the 416, Barrett?
Can have the 416, but there's been some squawking about making derivatives of the 50 cal illegal as well, the 50 BMG.
Can you have the 50 Action Express?
50 Action Express is good. 50 Beowulf is good. .416 is based off the 50 cal 50 BMG case, though. It's necked down to a .416 rather than a .5. And so they're thinking about, they've been talking about going after that. Yeah. The laws in California are jacked. And like I told you before, literally, before I retired, it didn't matter what gun it was. I could, I'm going to change my light here real quick. That feels a little bit better.
New Orleans is fun, David. You'll enjoy it. Just be ready for, if you're going at Mardi Gras, just be ready because it's going to be wild. I'm just fair warning. I've been to Mardi Gras 5 times. And every time.
If you've never been to New Orleans, you do not want to go during Mardi Gras.
I'd suggest go, although June and July, it's crazy hot, but it's still.
Evening, John H.
John is one of my very first subscribers I ever had. John is a really good dude. He shoots challenge still, or still challenge. Help me out, John. What else do you shoot? Bowling pins. There's a couple other pistol disciplines that he shoots. He runs Canics. Because Team Century Arms here. Sorry, I had to do it. But yeah, he does a lot of handgun matches, and he's been shooting his Ruger 1022 RPR quite a bit. He's been sending me pictures of groups and stuff like that. He's up near, he's in Illinois. Like, he's not too far from me either. But John's a super good dude. So he's one of my main moderators. He keeps you Kakazi in line.
But back to New Orleans, like I was saying, if you've never been to New Orleans, go when it's not Mardi Gras so you can kind of enjoy it. Spend a little time on Bourbon Street, get you a hurricane at Pat O's. I've been on Bourbon Street since I was like 15 years old. Make sure you get some beignets at Cafe Du Monde. It used to be 3 beignets and a cup of coffee for $1. I have no idea what it is now. The Jack's Brewery was just north of Cafe Du Monde. You go across the GNO to the West Bank and hang out in Algiers if you were in for a little bit of vibrancy, or you could go over off of 23 to Hollywood and had a place that had nice cold beer.
Yeah, and then you got the oldest bar in the country right down there in New Orleans. Like, it's kind of off Bourbon Street a little bit, but you got Cafe Du Monde, like Yuka's talking about, and then
the old Playboy Club. There was a restaurant. It was the old Playboy Club in New Orleans, and it began with a B. Oh, I can't remember the name of the restaurant now, but yeah, you go into the men's room and it was Playboy centerfolds plastered all over the wall because it was the old Playboy Club. Bacchanal, the Bacchanal. That's the name of the restaurant.
Oh.
And if you get over to the West Bank, you got another donut place called Testy Dog Nuts. They were good.
So when we were down there, we've been back twice since. I've been down there twice since Louisiana Classic was canceled. And so, like, me and the kids, we were down there. I have never been asked so many times if I wanted to buy blow in my entire life till I walked down Bourbon Street during the middle of the day. I was like, what in the hell is going on?
That's because you were walking down in the middle of the day. You got to walk down in the middle of the night. It gets more interesting.
Oh, it does. But you also have to realize I can't be taking a 3-year-old and a 16-year-old down Bourbon Street at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, that is a very fair acquisition. But I don't know. It's different, man. Like, it's a whole different world, but I love New Orleans. If you like history,
so if you're at St. Louis Cathedral, Cafe du Monde just to your south, and you go east from St. Louis Cathedral, you hit a place called Pirates Alley. There used to be a place it was one, maybe two streets over from Bourbon Street. They had like a submarine from the 1700s. If you watch the Revolutionary War spy flick there on AMC, they had the little submarine thing. Well, they had one there in New Orleans, and they had some torpedoes and stuff from World War I, World War II, but it was fenced off and just there. I mean, it was so neat. And then Jean Lafitte Baptiste, his house right there, damn near off Bourbon Street, and doorway that was only like 5 foot tall. Neat stuff. Oh, the history. Yes.
The history is something crazy. So my mom and uncle, if you get to where the bridge is that goes across the Mississippi River right there in New Orleans, whatever that little town is that's across the street where they actually build all the Mardi Gras floats. I can't remember what town that is.
If you're at the bridge and you go to the West Bank, north of the bridge is Algiers, south of the bridge it's subdivisions. It was bocage and tall timbers and whatnot, but Algiers and the West Bank is what they called it.
So that's where my mom and uncle lived when my grandfather was in the military, I think. He was working for the Army Corps of Engineers. He was part. I say this, and I don't mean to like bring bad blood to anybody from New Orleans, but my grandpa was one of the guys that designed the locks that may or may not have caused New Orleans to kind of sink underwater. And then I've got another uncle that he surveyed Four Corners out in Colorado, New Mexico, that area, the Four Corners. He surveyed that. His name is actually on that plaque out there, certifying it.
Cool. My grandma had a restaurant in New Orleans in the during World War II in the 40s.
Nice. That is accurate. Ukikaze, one street over, you do avoid a bunch of the drunks, but then there's still other issues that go on over there. David, one piece of advice I'll give you for going to New Orleans, there's a lot of petty crime, a lot of pickpocketing and things like that. Carry your wallet in your front pocket. Just fair warning. But you'll never know who you'll run into in New Orleans either. I ran into quite a few people that I didn't realize I was going to run into. I met some really good people down there. I met some really famous people down there. And they're just walking the street, just living life.
See, and with me in the course of my employment, standing in the middle of a running freeway, I ran into the likes of Merle Haggard and Tom Selleck and Lonnie Anderson. And, of course, Midnight Shift hooked up Snoop Dogg's crew. And then our boys in Texas hooked up Willie Nelson's crew. Hey, it is what it is. No hard feelings, just business. It's just business.
You gotta leave poor old Willie alone. He's just trying to smoke a little pot. He ain't never hurt nobody. Uh, but when I was in high school, when I used to work for Disney, and believe it or not, I was not goofy.
You're just
I
fucking nuts.
Yeah, but I served. I was a server at a restaurant in the Universal Studios called Mama Milrose's, and I uh, I served Michael Phelps right after the Olympics. Awful tipper, by the way. Awful. Like one of the worst tippers I've ever dealt with in my entire life. And then I met Dave Bautista right before he went and did Guardians of the Galaxy. And then that's a lot of the ways that I met the guys that I know within the WWE were through him. Because he was just like, you just treat me like a normal dude. He's like, and so we ended up just, I don't know, we just made a friendship of it. So that's how I know like Adam Shearer and guys like that out of WWE is
Cool.
just treating them normal. I mean, yes, I was Yukikaze. So Yuke wants to know, Half Mile, did you have a little smoke sesh with Willie Nelson? Is that how the mustache
that
became
would
the
be the
mustache?
boys at the Sierra Blanca station. Got Willie and crew with a little bit of green.
That's
Now,
funny.
our checkpoint got Snoop Dogg's crew, and of course, one of the roadies said, "Oh no, that 3 pounds of weed's mine."
Go figure. But so, what's been your craziest experience that you've dealt with at a match? We all have that one crazy experience.
Well, there's been a couple. We were shooting at the DPS Academy in Florence, Texas for the Texas State Championships. And my teammate, who prior to Border Patrol Agent Robert Vidaz being the 13-time national champion, Clay Tippett had been the running reign of national champions. And he shot a national record with Distinguished Auto. It was a perfect 600 and maybe 152 X's. And somebody said, "Oh no, we can't allow this. This isn't an NRA approved target," because it didn't have the NRA seal. And there was some heated discussion going on about that. And the match sponsor said, "Well, we can just put up NRA centers on these and you can reshoot it and do it again. Like, you can really shoot a national record back to back." And then didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine retired from Fort Worth PD was at a match, and somebody presented a gun to the referee for inspection for a distinguished match. And I blame the person that presented the gun because they didn't lock the slide back. They presented the gun to the referee. Referee stuck the gun underneath the table and pulled the trigger, and it went bang. And a friend of mine was sitting across from the table from the referee, and the bullet struck like between her legs, between her feet on the ground. She came like that close to getting capped by the referee.
Damn.
She literally went out that day and said, "You know what? Screw this. I'm buying me a new Escalade."
I don't blame her. I probably would too. Yuke is trying to get you to start cursing. I don't think.
If he had been paying attention, I did drop an F-bomb.
But see, he only listens half the time. Crazy
I know.
Canadian.
There was an F-bomb that was dropped.
It is like he is a certified Canadian now by the Ballistically Speaking podcast.
You know, I spent enough time there on the northern border, and I can kind of talk about that a boot and out in the boot and all that, just like the Canadians, eh? You know?
The Coyotes. But
My kid's sister married a Canuck, and I gave him a ration of shit all the time, saying he was just marrying my sister to get a green card. Well, turns out she was marrying him to get a landed immigrant card because they live in Canada land. And in fact, when I would go shoot in Canada, I would go stay with them and, go shoot the Canadian Nationals or whatever match I was shooting. And it was really funny because first match I shot in Canada land was the Canadian Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I was going to do it, so I set it up early enough. I got a hold of the match sponsor, and he was able to get all the paperwork for me. I filled out everything I need to do. He got it to the Canadian government, and I got my blessing. And I rolled through the port of entry in Sarnia, pulled up to the gate, and the little Canadian immigration lady, "What's your citizenship?" I said, U.S. "And do you have anything declared today?" I said, "Yeah, I got a box full of guns." And eyes get about this big around. "Oh, hey, you got to go to secondary, eh?" You go, "Okay." And unlike the U.S., where the gates there and secondary is literally right there, in Canada, it's actually quite a bit of a drive from the port of entry, the gate, to secondary. So I roll on over, and all kinds of Canadian Border Services personnel there. There's like 5 or 6 of the armed Canadians waiting for me. And I get out with my paperwork, and they go, "Oh, where are your guns?" "Oh, they're in the trunk." And I open up the trunk, and they, "Okay, are they all in the box?" "Yep, they're all in my shooting box." Now, mind you, I had to leave half my guns at home because my 4-inch revolver is illegal in Canada because a 4-inch revolver is only 100 millimeters. Barrel length is 105 minimum. RCMP and the locals, they were really great because they let me borrow 2-inch revolvers that were grandfathered in, let me borrow 4-inch revolvers for my duty gun because all our duty guns were more than 10-round capacities. Our RCMP was shooting the same gun, but they had 10-round magazines, so I was able to borrow magazines from them. So that all worked out. So I bring the box over and I pop it open, and the Border Services guy's sitting there looking, and he's looking at my guns. He goes, "Oh, these are competition guns, eh?" I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Would you show me that gun's unloaded, please?" I'm like, "Okay, is this a trap?" Reached in, grabbed my gun, opened it up, showed him it was unloaded. "Can you show me the serial number, eh?" And we went through all the guns, and they checked off all my guns, made sure everything was good to go. And that was the easy part. From that point on, when I would pull up to the gate, I'm sure they had my license plate in the system. They didn't ask me what my citizenship was. Their first question was always, "Do you have your guns with you today, eh?"
it's like they remember.
Oh, yeah.
It's like flying. Besides the states that I was talking to you about earlier about going to, where we just drive from another state over. But like so I fly out of Nashville all the time for matches. I always use Delta because Delta is the easiest one to deal with when it comes to firearms. For me personally, let me rephrase that. And I go straight through Delta. I literally get there, and the girl is like, "Just go." She's always just to the point. She's like, "I already know what you're going to tell me. Just go to the desk." I mean, especially when they see you get out of your vehicle with a V800 Pelican case, like they know what you've got in there. Especially when it's got your sponsors stickers all over it and stuff like that. You're wearing your team jersey, like they pretty well know why you're there. Like,
Let's see. Now, before I retired, I flew armed a lot. And on the federal side, it's really great. You don't have to have orders to fly armed, whereas the state boys and the municipal boys have to have letters from their chief saying, our guys on duty. Federal agents can, on vacation, pack a gun on a plane. I have not flown since I retired. I actually dread having to fly. If I have to fly anywhere right now, I actually dread having to fly. It was so easy though. Walk up, say, here's my badge, here's my creds, I'm flying armed, and fill out their paperwork. Then go to TSA and do it all over again. And every airport, it seemed, for something that should be standardized across the country, every airport was different.
mm-hmm.
And Detroit I was flying out of Detroit one time, and the gate lady was so loud about the fact that I had a gun and how this was going to be probably the safest plane going out and about in the skies today, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, will you shut up, lady? I don't want everybody and their brother to know I've got a gun.
That makes you a target.
Exactly. And when I would go check in at the gate, I would say, I do not want to board early unless if you demand that I do. I want to just board with first class crew. I was flying out of Detroit another time. I was flying back to California because while I was in Michigan, my wife and my kids were still in California. I commuted. Mm-hmm. And so I flew home and we drove to Raton. But in the course of flying home, there was a couple of air marshals on the plane. There was a couple of state boys somewhere on the plane. Of course, we all had to meet up together to get to know one another, and just in case something went sideways, right? And there was a Secret Service agent on the plane. The Secret Service agent was apoplectic when he goes, "What's in your box?" I said, "Oh, that's just my guns." And I flipped it open. It's all my competition guns. There are 12 guns in this box. His eyes went like this big round. That's going to be locked up the whole time. That's not going to be out of your sight at any time, is it? Oh, my God, I can't believe you're letting you on the plane with this many guns. Like, shoot, for the Border Patrol and the national team, I kind of know how to handle these things. Don't relax a little bit. Oh, man, it was bad.
David?
The Dells are a little bit farther than 4 hours from Canada land, I think. I think you're maybe 4 hours from Hurley, Michigan on the UP, which then puts you another like 4 hours, 3 hours from the POE at Sault Ste. Marie, or probably the same over at the POE at I Falls. It's a long ways away, Dave.
Well, that's what I was about to say is, so I lived in Milwaukee for a long time, and going to the Dells, it's cold up there this time of year. Ooh, you're a brave soul going there this time of year.
I see
it's cold up there.
You say Milwaukee, and I grew up in Houston. My mom died young, and when after my mom died, my dad retired early. He sold the house in Houston, bought 40 acres in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and a cabin on an island in Minocqua, Wisconsin. So we would go to Wisconsin, and for the hell of it, I bought 20 acres of land in Hazelhurst, which I ended up selling to buy my place in Arizona.
Nice. David, Unitah Precision. I can't remember. Do you remember where Unitah is out of?
I've not heard of this.
So Unitah Precision, you should check them out, especially if you like bolt action stuff. Unitah Precision makes a AR-15/AR-10 upper that literally goes on a standard AR-15 or AR-10 lower. Takes all AR parts, AR magazines, AR accessories, so on and so forth. But it's all bolt action.
Is
So
that
like
like what they had in Canada or in Australia?
possibly. I'm not sure.
Because Australia just banned those because they still look evil.
I'm not exactly sure. But so they do a lot of like 308s, 6.5 Needmores, 6 Needmores, 6 GT, 6 Arc, 6.5 Grendel. They make really nice stuff. It's all cold hammer forged, 7R rifling, really, really nice stuff. But you're also talking like $1,800 for an upper. So that I love Unitop precision stuff. But for me, like that's budget. That's in I hate using the term budget friendly because budget friendly is different for everybody. Like just because what's budget friendly for me may not be for you, but for me, I find Unitop Precision budget friendly based on the features that you're getting with it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's like Sergeant of Arms. I love Sergeant of Arms handguards because they literally fit on Aero Precision uppers without having a special barrel nut. They literally fit on Aero Precision barrel nuts. Perfect.
Nice. That's
I love
while we were chatting today while I was at the tire shop, I was also looking at 6.5 Creedmoor barrels because I want to build a 6.5 Creedmoor upper for my AR-10. Define race gun half uke. It's you mean like the Bianchi kind of race guns or just a competition race gun? Because I have competition guns. I have built competition guns, built by gunsmiths. I built some of my own. I've got 1911s that are all built. Did I read that message right? Is that a fellow glowy boy?
Yeah, P38 Wilbur. Haven't seen Wilbur in a long time. We've got the Pimp 1984. Did you ever get your Instagram fixed, Tamara? Bye, John. Have a good night. Yeah, everybody is coming in Unitop.
See, my 308's a JL Billet 80%er that I built. Well, race guns are modified guns. They would be what you would call an open gun versus a stock or a duty gun. So technically, my heavy revolver and my 6-inch 1911 and even my 5-inch 1911, those are technically race guns. And then for distinguished, I shoot a stock revolver, and service revolver is a stock 4-inch. And production, I shoot a stock XD.
Nice. Dell has a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Nice.
I really don't like the 6.5 in a gas rifle. I really don't. I think it's neutered. I don't know. I don't know.
The other option is maybe doing it in 243, but that's 6.5 243. It's still just another 308 basically.
Well, you could do it in 6 Creed and be way different than everybody else and hit speed and power factor.
I'd have to find the barrel. Because I know I can get a barrel from Bear Creek for like $140 maybe.
And bun caliber. You could do it in 22 250.
Yeah, I thought about that too because I got a stack of 22 250 in my locker at work.
Honestly, if you want to talk to somebody that just did one in 22 250, do you know who Alaskan Ballistics is?
I've seen him around on occasion, but I don't know him.
You need to get in contact with him. He just built one in 22,250. Cool. See you, David.
Well, it's almost 8 o'clock here, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. I need to go.
Yeah,
I need to make some dinner call.
All right. Well, we'll close it out. So tell everybody who you are, where they can find you, and what you do.
Half Mile Sniper. My Instagram's Half Mile Sniper. My YouTube channel's Half Mile Sniper. I'm retired Border Patrol. Shoot competitively. Got bored in retirement. Went to work for the Sheriff's Department in the Armory. I fix guns for the deputies, and keeps me out of trouble in my retirement.
Nice. There you go. All right, guys. Well, we went a little bit over an hour, and I try to keep these at an hour, but
I think we're just shy of an hour and a half. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. Let's answer this last question real quick. I don't know of any.
I've not seen that, but 7mm is only a 284. So if you want to neck up a 5.56 223, you might as well go to 308 and call it a 300 blackout.
That's my opinion too. But guys, Half Mile Sniper is linked in the description down below, and there is my Cash App down there. If you want to help support the channel, it's there. If you do,
I actually meant to bring something here so I could show off, knowing that there's going to be different people here. I have some rapid reticle scopes, PFI, Pride Fowler Industries rapid reticle scopes that I need to be testing. And once I'm done testing, I will be giving them away to subscribers. I meant to have them right here by the computer so I could show them, but like an idiot, I went and got a beer instead.
Hey, beer's more important.
Yeah, it's liquid bread.
It is. But
I have 3 scopes that I will be giving away. One for the 5.56, one for the 308 or 7.62x39, or 300 blackout or 7.62x39, or one for a hunting scope, 308, 6.5, some of the other 30 cal. I just need to throw them on my guns and test them out, and then I'll be giving them away.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. It sounds like you do a lot like how I do when I win new rifles and stuff. I give rifles away to people and all sorts of stuff. I like when I did my 1,000 subscriber giveaway, I bought 1 scope, but the other stuff was stuff that I won. That quality prizes off the. No, I did text her to bring me a beer. I need another one, but I also need to eat food, Indigo. Food. I got to soak up the beer. Carmen says beer goggles or scope.
Did y'all see 22 Plinkster's beer goggles challenge thing that he did? I was looking at it going, now there's no way, whatever they have there for their beer goggles, yeah, that is not mimicking alcohol.
No. But, all right, guys. Well, I will catch you guys next time. And be safe. Have fun. I'll catch everybody next time. Peace.
See y'all later. I had a good time. Appreciate it.